Better process for the Sharks tonight, but still the same results as they lose 4-1 to the Colorado Avalanche.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Western Conference Tuesdays on the Locked On NHL channel. Want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Probably part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. If you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we dive into the Sharks' 4-1 loss to the Colorado Avalanche, where we see much better process and the Sharks control puck and control play for good chunks of this game, but still the same results as they lose 4-1. Dig into the numbers of the game, and is it Vitek Vanecek's crease? Because he's been playing better than Mackenzie Blackwood. So before we get to all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. So place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right. Much better game tonight than what we've, especially the last two games against the Winnipeg Jets, where they got just run off the ice. The Blackhawks, where they were outplayed heavily, but they were playing a team of equal footing. And I think that kind of masked a lot of the issues in that game. And Colorado is by far not perfect, right? They've had their own struggles outside of this as the season has gotten started. You know, they didn't get their first win until the other night. Just like the Sharks, they've had a lot of issues here, and they've been trying to outscore a lot of their problems. So I thought this would be a game where we might see the Sharks offense get going a little bit. And if the theme of the season is process over results, you could see the offense was much better tonight, even if they only scored one goal, but still, a lot of the same issues that we've kind of come to expect with this Sharks team in this young season, taking too many penalties, dumb penalties, like too many men, especially against a team like Colorado, who was going into this game clicking at 41% on the power play. Not taking advantage of your opportunities when you have a minute and a half or a minute of 5-on-3 and it's not crisp enough. Much better than the last 5-on-3 we saw, but a lot of the same issues for the Sharks of just not being able to take advantage of those. And that's going to happen as you have a young team who is learning to win and a lot of new pieces coming together, right? But though I will say, they looked way better tonight. They just, especially that second period, they just a much more competitive team tonight, who maybe should have had a little bit better luck. And that's part of being a bad team, is you usually are also unlucky too. But you saw, especially the second period and at 5-on-5, which I think is huge. Yes, the Sharks had a ton of this. This game was littered with power play opportunities, especially in the second period where both teams got a 5-on-3 at one point. But the Sharks, in limited time in the second period, the offense really got going and outplayed Colorado. And I think that's a big reason why this game was close into the end, until Colorado finally about halfway through the third period, where it was able to kind of put it away with a third goal, and then they get the empty netter later. But in 8:56 of 5-on-5 play, which is crazy, it was less than 9 minutes of 5-on-5 play in the second period, the Sharks outshot the Avalanche 14-5 during that time, with 7-3 actual shots and 0.51 to 0.16 expected goals for. And that right there, that second period, I think is where the game changed because they weren't able to capitalize, right? You have a 5-on-3, you have a power play, you have a 5-on-3, like you're earning your power plays. Like those aren't like that's because you're spending a lot of time in the Avs zone there, and you are kind of, you're cycling the puck well, you're creating shot attempts, you're doing good things there. It's crazy, right? You play in the offensive zone, you earn power plays. And then from there, I think the next step now is, can we get the power play running at a much more efficient clip? And I know they're missing Macklin Celebrini, and the word now is he started skating. So I would kind of put the clock, if you don't have any, like I'd kind of put the clock at 1 week. And they're still going to say week to week, right? They're going to be very, very slow with him. But if he's skating, it's a good sign. It stinks though because the practice schedule is probably really funky this week because the Sharks basically play every other day right now, so we're probably not going to get too much practice. I'm checking their practice, literally checking their practice schedule right now, at least for what I can see. Yeah, they do have practice, so they will have practices every day after the games here, which is good. So we'll have game on Tuesday night, so practice on Monday, game on Tuesday, practice on Wednesday, game on Thursday, practice on Friday. So as of course, they were on the road here. So, but I think this is, if Celebrini one makes a trip, that's a good sign. If you start to see him getting into practices or later in the week, it's a good sign that he's going to be back hopefully before the end of the month here. So, I would probably put the clock, like circle Saturday as the first real opportunity for him to come back. But anyway, this power play, though, it's like you're given, and you have a lot of talent, right? You have Eklund, you have Granlund, you have Toffoli. Like this is a Jake Wallman. I think Jake Wallman's been really good on the power play. Needs to be a little bit more accurate, but you have a lot of pieces, and maybe it's just part of the process of, again, you have a lot of pieces that are new, right? Basically, Eklund and Granlund are the only holdovers from last year's power play, and they're still gelling a little bit here. But I think that's kind of what's holding this team back from maybe stealing a couple wins here and there as this season goes on. So I think, though, it was good to see. I know they had 4 penalties, but they really ton of penalties at the beginning of the game, but then kind of clean those up there. Or if they took a penalty, they're taking somebody with them. Henry Thrun fighting dudes. It was not on my bingo card for this season or his career, but good for Henry Thrun sticking up for Fabian Zetterlund, who took a knee, and kind of almost a knee-to-knee type of play, which is super dangerous. But Henry Thrun sticking up for his dude. So again, didn't have Henry Thrun fighting. But yeah, I think for this game, though, like you have to, I know moral victories, et cetera, but it was a step in the right direction, especially after the way the Sharks had played the last 2 games. And for them, a little bit slow in the first period, but I thought as the game went on, they went stronger. They got stronger and stronger. They were the better team for the last 40 minutes. And, like if they were a little bit closer to at full strength or were able to kind of capitalize on their opportunities, they could be talking about a Sharks win. This game was not, it wasn't that different. It was very, very close in this game. And I think the Sharks and the Brian Warsawski should be proud of the way they played tonight and the way they battled back, especially because this game could have gotten off the rails really quickly, especially when you're down 2-0. Colorado is fully in control. Sharks are in a power play. Eklund scores, and then from that moment, from Eklund scoring on there, it was very Sharks heavy in this game, and probably deserved a little bit better outcome. And if they keep playing this way, you're going to start seeing the results, because the process was good tonight as they cleaned up their penalties, especially after the first period, and really tried to establish their game against a team who, yes, very short-handed team, but a much, you have Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar. Like this team, it's not like this team is hurting for stars. So we're going to continue to talk about this game, talk about the numbers behind it, talk about William Eklund tonight. Just breakout season for Eklund. It's just hop on, guys. It's here. So then we'll talk about Vitek Vanecek and why it might be his crease. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data. A matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Indeed does just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So, join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Let's go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, before we dig into the numbers of this game, talk about William Eklund just having himself a night. Do want to, of course, thank you guys for making the Locked On Sharks for your first listen. For your second listen, go check out one of the other great shows in the Locked On Network. Of course, you have Locked On Fantasy Hockey. So if you need to make some trades, scour the waiver wire, try to find some more depth or find the next breakout guy, you need to check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey, or check out one of the other shows here in the Bay Area where you got Locked On Niners. Of course, Brandon Ayuk news doesn't sound promising. They got you covered with that. Locked On Warriors, Locked On Giants, Locked On A's. Plenty of great stuff here at the Locked On Network, where you get your podcasts, wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. All right. Let's dig into the numbers. So, again, this game was relatively close when you dig into the numbers, and you see just Colorado having just being more talented team. 44 minutes, 18 seconds of 5v5. Sharks actually led shot attempts 43-36. Actual shots at 5v5 was 15-16 in favor of the Sharks. Scoring chances 22-16 in favor of the Avalanche. High danger chances 7-5 in favor of the Avalanche. And then 1.35 to 1.2 expected goals for in favor of the Avalanche. So the Sharks, though, like, we haven't seen a game where the Sharks took more shot attempts, had more shots on goal, kind of controlled that aspect of the game. Yes, the Avalanche had slightly better numbers when it comes to some of the scoring numbers. But again, Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, those guys are good. And you saw Cale Makar, like, when they needed that goal to put the game away, Cale Makar, he does his thing. So for the lines tonight, all right, we had Zetterlund, Granlund to Foley, played 10:54. Time on ice, 10-8 shot attempts. Actual shots was 4-2. No goals, didn't give up a goal. 0.29 to 0.09 expected goals for. 4-2 scoring chances, 2-0 high danger chances. Eklund, Wenberg, Goodrow, 919, 12-3 shot attempts in favor of the Sharks. 3-1 actual shots. Expected goals 4.3 to 0.03. 4-1 scoring chances. 1-0 high danger chances. So William Eklund tonight was very good tonight. And you see, just like with Eklund, the competitiveness, right? And there's that clip of him and Cale Makar. And like, Cale Makar is like ridiculously good, right? Him and Cale Makar just battling, Eklund gets it, the puck, we get the spinorama, goes behind the net. Makar, big hit from Makar. Eklund doesn't back down, goes right back at him. Those guys are going at it, the behind the net, then it moves in front of the net. Those guys are battling for the same space, trying to do whatever they can to help their, and that is what you want to see from Eklund. And Eklund behind the net and his ability to create space, with his his skating and his ability to turn on a dime and then open up space and then find passing. Like, again, that's you partner that when, as Will Smith, we'll talk about Smith here in a couple minutes, but as Smith continues to grow and develop, and you saw Smith make a nice little play, very similar type of play, and Celebrini and the way he thinks the game, like, yeah, you can see the foundation of these guys being just super skilled players, high IQ players, and you can see why I think Eklund is going to have the breakout season. He had a goal tonight, and he was the Sharks' best player tonight. Like, he was pretty easily. You could maybe give me Vitek Vanecek, but I think Eklund was the best player. Every time he was on the ice tonight, he was noticeable. He was making stuff happen, and that is good to see. Especially, kind of he missed the last game with an injury, and I'm glad that they were like being proactive about it and keeping him shelved there. But Eklund, when he was on the ice at 11-13 and at 5v5, Sharks had 16 shot attempts and they gave up 3. That's the Corsi right there. Actual shots was 4-1, 0.39 expected goals, 4-0.03 when William Eklund was on the ice. He was driving play tonight, which is good to see it. I'm glad he got rewarded with a goal. Probably was this close to having a multi-point night tonight. So next we had Ty Dellandrea and Nico Sturm, Carl Grundstrom. Played 6-15, 6-8 shot attempts, 4-4 actual shots. Did give up 2 goals at 5v5. That the second Ross Colton goal, poor Ty Dellandrea, like he's doing his best back there. But Nathan McKinnon's a wizard and got that puck to Ross Colton. And Ross Colton started this season on fire. But this line just, I think they didn't really get a chance to get going as much as you would want, especially with so many penalties. And like Dellandrea and Sturm and like those guys are used for, on the penalty kill and stuff. So not the best night for this line. Gushin, Will Smith, and Luke Cunnin, 646 tonight, 4-7 shot attempts, 2-3 actual shots, 0.27 to 0.09 expected goals for. So kind of the same theme from Will Smith is the quality over quantity. And Will Smith, I thought he definitely had his ups and downs. You could definitely say he had his best play as a NHL player, where kind of in the corner, he gets the puck, shakes a defender, and then makes a really great pass to Luke Cunnin, who's just not able to tuck it home there. Did have a couple moments where he's just holding onto the puck for like a split second too long. And I think that's part of the learning curve of playing NCAA hockey to professional hockey. Is just things happen so much faster. And is that what I can get away with in college isn't going to get away with as much. But, I think like it was a solid night for Smith. It was good to see, even when they were down a goal, he was still getting ice time as they were trying to come back in this game. And then unfortunately things kind of unraveled for the Sharks. So Smith played 14:43, which is kind of right in the middle among the forwards. And I think that kind of 15-16 minute mark right now is where you kind of want Will Smith to end up here right now. So I think, again, we'll see, right? Let's see how he kind of builds this week, especially with the Sharks having, it's every other day right now. I wonder if maybe plays on Tuesday, then maybe Thursday, and then maybe see kind of how things are on Saturday, or like I'm curious to see kind of what the schedule looks like for Will Smith this week. So, but disappointing that Gushin didn't really. I think Gushin was pretty quiet tonight as well. But I think though overall, like, again, it's baby steps for Will Smith right now. So we'll talk about Vitek Vanecek, and we'll look at the defenseman as Jack Thompson also played tonight as well. So we'll finish looking at the rest of this game, talk about Vitek Vanecek, and I think he might get the next start, even though the Sharks have been very like taking turns. Wouldn't be surprised if Vitek Vanecek gets the next start. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get the hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. I hope you took the Dolphins under. But now that Tua's back, we'll see what happens with Tua being back. Sorry about the Raheem Mostert. I really thought Raheem Mostert was going to score a touchdown. But anyway, so you can do all that over at FanDuel.com. All right, we'll talk about the defenseman, and then we'll get into we'll get to Vitek Vanecek here. So for the defenseman, Cody Ceci led the way at Corsi, 18-13 shot attempts. Jake Wallman was next at 16-12 shot attempts. Mario Ferraro 16-11. Jan Ruda 13-11, and then Henry Thrun 12-13. Jack Thompson 11-12. So again, when you're kind of out shooting, all those numbers really do kind of make sense. But I thought it was interesting that Matt Benning was the one that was scratched to get Jack Thompson in. I think it's pretty clear Benning's not back to being Matt Benning, coming off that hip injury. It's glad to see Jack Thompson get an opportunity, especially with the Sharks' struggles to get the puck out of the zone. I thought they were much better getting the puck out of their zone tonight, and Jack Thompson also got to play on the second power play unit. And I think we saw a much more effective Henry Thrun tonight because Thrun can kind of focus on what he does best, and Jack Thompson can focus on what he does best, which is move the puck tonight. So hopefully we get to continue to see that. I know Mukhamadullin, it's getting close from what it sounds like. I think it'll be interesting to see if Mukhamadullin goes on the road. If Mukhamadullin goes on the road, expect him to make his season debut at some point on this trip here. But if you can get me a Wallman, Mukhamadullin, like Thompson, like on each of the pairs, that way there's a puck moving defenseman, like sign me up for that, because that's what's going to put the Sharks in their best position, is a guy who can actually get the puck out of the zone. We saw way too many times last year, and even times this year, especially in the last two games prior to this one, of just unable to get the puck out of their zone. And so I think I was pretty happy with Thompson's play tonight. Jan Ruda does have to cut down on the penalties. He's taken way too many penalties this year. I think they said he's taken 5 penalties in 6 games. Which is not a good sign. It's usually kind of the sign of like things are maybe starting to hit, because like all the penalties are really stick infractions, and those are because you're usually like either like you're being lazy or you're a step too slow. And Jan Ruda is starting to get up there a little bit. So I'm hoping this is maybe just a dip, and Ruda can try to bounce back here a little bit. But it's not a good sign when Ruda's been taking so many penalties, especially because he's a key penalty killer for the Sharks on their blue line. So gotta continue. This team cannot afford to shoot itself in the foot as it has been doing. So Vitek Vanecek, or Vitek Vanecek, tonight if you were watching the game, they spelled his name wrong on his jersey. It's Vanecek. They spelled it Vanacek. Poor Vitek Vanecek. That's why you need a nice, easy last name like Young. Anyway, so Vitek Vanecek tonight, I thought he played pretty well. His time on ice is really messed up for some reason on the natural stat trick. It's saying he played like 64 minutes. He did not play 64 minutes. But I thought, though, like he just looks more confident than Blackwood. I know Blackwood had like no help in the Jets game why he got pulled. But tonight, in all situations, Vanecek had wow, they are really screwed up with numbers. I guess we're gonna have to ditch the numbers for tonight on Vanecek and the way he played, because they're not showing up. Oh wait, we might have them. Nope, it's all messed up. All right, we'll look at 5-on-5. So 5-on-5, he made 13 saves on 15 shots, gave up 2 goals on 1.35. Expected goals against was, 2 goals, expected goals against was 1.35. 3 saves on 5 high danger shots. And again, this is on 5v5 because it's not showing all the numbers on Natural Stat Trick right now. But anyway, I think though for Vitek Vanecek, he has just been, I think he's looked calmer and more confident than Mackenzie Blackwood right now. Like all of his starts, I think, have been very good. I know Blackwood, small sample size right now, but Blackwood did have the third period against the Blues where tough situation there. And then the Jets game where, again, not put in the best situation there by his team. And, you don't want to kind of pin that on him. And he played well in that first period until the wheels came off. But I just think right now you're getting a little bit more out of Vitek Vanecek. You pair this with Elliot Friedman on Friday's episode of 32 Thoughts, where he pondered very loudly if the Avalanche could be doing their homework on Mackenzie Blackwood. And I mean, the Sharks are going to have to kind of the assumption is Sharks are going to have to make a choice between Vitek Vanecek and Mackenzie Blackwood on kind of who they want to keep, at least for the end of the season, right? And we'll kind of see what goes on there. And I kind of assume whoever they keep, they're probably going to re-sign to probably a 2-year deal, right? And then you have that matchup with Askarov's deal, and then because Askarov's new deal kicks in next season as well, and then when Askarov's next new deal kicks in, then you probably have to go cheap on the goaltending. But if you get Vitek Vanecek for 2 years at $3 million for the next 2 seasons, and especially if he continues to play that way he's been playing, and a guy who's been frankly way more healthy than Mackenzie Blackwood. I know he had a major injury last year, but you haven't really seen the nagging issues from Vitek Vanecek like you have with Mackenzie Blackwood. So I think right now, if you're the Sharks, do you kind of ride Vitek Vanecek? They haven't. Ryan Warsofsky has been very we're going to take turns right now with it, but you wonder if Vitek Vanecek's maybe starting to kind of pull ahead here, and maybe he starts to earn a couple more starts, especially with the Sharks schedule being what it is, where you have days off. You're practice on Monday, right? You have a game on Tuesday, game on Thursday, game on Saturday. Does Vanecek get Tuesday, Saturday? And then Blackwood gets Thursday against the Kings? These are all Pacific opponents here, and maybe you also have the kind of Anaheim, or some of these teams haven't seen Vanecek yet. It's kind of like facing a pitcher for the first time, where you don't really know their stuff yet. And yes, they've probably played him before when he was on the Capitals or the Devils, but Blackwood, right? You've kind of seen Blackwood stuff if you're one of those teams. So I'm really curious to see if Vanecek can maybe continue to pull away here over the next couple of weeks, especially because, again, I think his play has just been a little bit more solid. I think Blackwood, maybe you've had some flashier moments, but I think it's just been a little bit more up and down. I think Vanecek's been a little bit more steady in his play so far. So I do think right now it's slightly Vanecek. So I'm curious to see. This is going to be a fun storyline to kind of track who plays their way to get traded, who plays their way to kind of get stay, and what's the plan for these guys as they over the next 2 years with Askarov. With another shutout. We're talking all Barracuda tomorrow. So get on the hype train tomorrow, guys, because the Barracuda are a wagon. So make sure you guys are following along. Like I said, tomorrow, full episode on the Barracuda, as they are just steamrolling people right now. Just steamrolling teams. And if it's time to believe in the Barracuda. So make sure you guys are following along for that, wherever you get podcasts. Of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at LockOn Sharks. Follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. Till tomorrow. Bye, friends.